what comes to many people's mind? Yes, exactly. Hindenburg, bombs, Oppenheimer, the story goes on. But this is one of the safest forms of power that we are generating and we are living with for the last 6, 7 decades. So what you see on the leftmost is black, it's coal. That's the number of accidents. People die from inhaling coal even today. And the same thing with chronic illness and so on. Look at where nuclear is. But still, when you talk about nuclear, you get about 3 Mile Island in the U.S., Chernobyl, of course, big movies are made. Fukushima. So it was like 10, 12 years back. So if you really see the death from any of this is minuscule. But bad news travels fast. So idea is for engineers, scientists, technology for us to demystify, right? So it's not all that bad. Yes, it is. You have to be very careful. Safety is, that's why, nuclear projects are very slow. Because they have to put safety, in front of everything. So this is a funny picture. Maybe you can draw some inspiration from here. This is what happened after Fukushima, right? Germany took a 180-degree dive and said, stop all the nuclear power plants. At least they had 3 or 4 that's coming up for due. They could have extended them, but they stopped them. Pandemic happened, and guess what they're doing right now? So because of their stoppage of nuclear power, they went back to coal. So the idea is to completely stop coal, go to nuclear, go to other forms of energy, be it renewable, solar power that we're going to be talking about, battery storage and so on, but they are regressing. So they are even, I would say, worse than people, in countries like India, who rely, developing countries, they do rely on coal. There's no other way. So anyway, Germany is a bad example. But even the Fukushima accident happened in Japan. Now Japan has gone back to open a couple of nuclear power plants that they closed. So that's one more. And this is the amount of lobbying. It's 14 times more on nuclear. So people think it's bad, and and bad news travel fast. So just to summarize, it's the best source of energy among many other energies that we have. It takes very small amount of real estate to produce nuclear. It takes very less material to make nuclear, and phasing out nuclear can be problematic, like we saw in Germany. So one other example that's happening right in our backyard. Many people, we have DTE Energy, and there's a couple of other power plants. Palisades is a power plant in Michigan. It was set to close. They closed it last year, but now, this has never happened in the U.S. history. They're reopening Palisades. So Governor Whitmer, of course, although they realized late, there's a bill that's going on, and the company who came in to decommission the plant, right now they're opening it. This is a small example. And the picture you see here is another thing, right? So people talk about, hey, nuclear waste, what do you do with that, right? So it's another bomb, it's ticking bomb, it's going to explode and all that. This is actually a size of a football field, what it would take to store all the nuclear fuel that we have burnt in the last 6, 7 decades. So it's nothing compared to, it's just one football field. You're talking about you are like powering the entire nation at 20% of the energy. Like I said, I was earlier when Tej said only 11% of power comes from nuclear. It's wrong. It's actually 20%. So it's still like it's almost double of what. And in the U.S., we have like 90 plants running, even today. 95 plants are operating with 95% efficiency and more. So I don't want to go much on nuclear. There's a lot of development happening, and this guy, lovely. Wherever he puts his money, and he's put his own billions of dollars into things like small modular reactors. That is something that you have to look for. Those bigger plants are very difficult to build, but the small modular reactors are coming. So it's just a matter of time. These are only like 4 or 5 companies I've listed. So we have, probably 10, 20, 30 big startups working in this space to do small modular reactors. These are like small reactors you can put, anywhere, and they have walkaway safety, no manual intervention, etc. There's also, lots of things happening on the fuel side. My idea is not to go into details, and I can talk all day. So before that, let me bring my co-panelists, Nijaruna and Sujit. Come on. Let's put your slide.
Oh, you can start. Or maybe I'll join you.
Go ahead, Nijaruna. What brings you into the energy transition?
Absolutely. Yes. So good afternoon, everybody. And I see a lot of faces I know here. For those of you that don't know me well, as a quick introduction, I did used to look like that. My name is Nijaruna Niranjan. It's a mouthful, same letters repeating back and forth, but the best way to say it is read all the letters. And unfortunately, I do have to say this to the Indians too. I'm a chartered accountant and a cost accountant. I'm also a Six Sigma Black Belt. Lived in Metro Detroit for over 20 years. I am married. I have two boys. They're sitting in the front seat here. They're 16 and 13. And I've been in the industry for over 28 years. Yeah, I've worked in the chemical industry, in the automotive industry, in services and e-mobility. Muthu asked a great question, why are you here? Why does energy transition and climate change combating interest you? I will talk to you in a minute. I've given keynote presentations in the Benchmark Intelligence Forum, in the Battery Show. I've helped author some literature in the Metro Detroit automotive newsletters as well. I am a finance person, a CA. I'm a CFO in a chemical company called Master Fluid Solutions. So I'm also a thought leader in the finance industry and sustainability. Recently, I was recognized by the Society of Asian Scientists and Engineers for a Career Achievement Award as one of the few Asian women CFOs in America. So thank you. So Muthu's question starts with these two fundamental questions. Why are we talking about it? Why are we talking about energy, and how does it relate to climate change? I saw a lot of, let me stop here and say something. It's an honor to be here, and thank you ASEI for doing this. And I'm also very appreciative of what you're doing to educate the students here. And I see you offered free admission for several students to come in and get on this bandwagon. It's a great job. And because we have students here, I added a little bit of an intro. I'm sure several of you don't need this anymore, but it's always good to go back to basics. And when you generate electricity, you are burning fossil fuels, and Muthu just talked about it. So we're causing a large chunk of greenhouse gases. Now, he also did talk about nuclear. He said it's not renewable, but also not generating any greenhouse gases. So that's,
Carbon-free.
Exactly, carbon-free. But the gases that we do burn on a daily basis for everything we do in life, it does lead to global warming, right? And what is this transition? So globally, we're now trying to move away from these non-renewable sources towards green energy. So these are energy sources that are renewable or reduce the carbon footprint. So that's really what we're talking about today. And Sujit here is going to also talk about the solar energy, and we heard about the nuclear fuel, and I will talk a little bit about the transportation sector. So the last 5 years I spent in the e-mobility industry, right? So one of the things you see when you combat climate change is net zero target by 2050. And over the last 2.5 years, there is at least 1,248,000 companies that have announced a net zero target. And these are the chunks, these are the industries that contribute to the net zero target. So you have the power and heat plants. Now, Sujit will talk about it. Muthu already referred to them, and the transportation industry. These are the two chunks that actually are big on the emissions now, and will have to change how they do things to get to that net zero target. So that's what brings me here. I will talk to you about transportation, e-mobility, and a little chart on what net zero means to the e-mobility segment. So we're right now in 2022. About 2 years ago, Elon Musk went on the news and he said, I have a vision for net zero and e-mobility. And he said it will take, he used the word gigawatt hours. Now, those of you in the automotive industry, you know that you measure capacity generation for e-mobility in gigawatt hours. He used gigawatt hours. He said, I need so many gigawatt hours across the globe. 2 years later, we're looking at terawatt hours. Right? And if you look at North America today, currently, our capacity in the US to generate is lower in the low kilowatt hours. So single digit, maybe a medium single digit kilowatt hours. So that's the journey we have to take in 20 years or 27 years. So that's where we're going to make great strides. Now there's the IRA, which the government announced, and you see a lot of activity happening. So there's many announcements coming. I heard GM, Ford, I heard all the big names. Now, about last January, when I went to drop my son here in the middle school, in the bus loop, I would see one EV, one Tesla, going off the bus loop. Today, I see at least 6 different EVs. Not just a Tesla, when you see every automaker has at least one EV offering, if not more. Right? And there's announcements. Now we're seeing announcements of manufacturing in US, in Canada. And despite that, if we go with that pace, the blue actually shows you where we will be at 2050. So these announcements are captured in the blue. This is a very nice chart that Benchmark Intelligence put together for us. So the blue shows us if we go at the current pace, that's where we're going to be. So what do we need to, I'll come back to you in a second. What do we need to do to get to 250? That 2050 and net zero, is that the capacity we have to build. What does that mean? We have to work 4 times as faster to get there. Sorry, go ahead.
The question I had was, does the Earth have enough lithium to satisfy?
Yeah, I love that question, absolutely, because the challenges are, we don't have as much critical minerals on the Earth. And even the sources that we do have, now there's many, I am seeing Chile, Argentina, Canada saying we have untapped lithium sources, there's spodumene in tons that we didn't know how to use until now. So they're happy to contribute. However, can they grow as fast as us? It takes 10 years to get a mine in place. Now we're revitalizing the mining industry, but then we want it to be sustainable. We want newer technology, non-invasive technology. Not sustainable.
Maybe they're
No,
like,
that's-
you're close.
Okay. So one of the things we have to do is, and Benchmark has another chart that shows you have to recycle what you have. So you have to get back to a model where you pick up the end-of-life batteries, put them in second-life applications. So that's, Benchmark had another chart. They said 2040, about 30% of your minerals need to come from recycled materials. So that's the other industry we're revitalizing also in our net zero concept, is to recycle, reuse. So great segue into this chart. Thank you so much.
So when we had our EV summit, we had the same similar question to Anand Shankaran. So he's in Ford Ion Park, right? So his point was the same. He's gone underground into mines, and it's treacherous for him. Rather than going so underground into mines and mine all those materials, he would any day recycle. And people like ex-Tesla's CTO who wants to start a company called Redwood Materials. They have partnered with Ford. They have excellent technology right now. Again, scaling is the problem. The problem is for us to all provide our small batteries to big batteries to them. They can recycle. They have mastered the manufacturing process. But we need to build many of those Redwood materials to recycle. And it seems, critical minerals perspective, when you recycle, the quality of the material is still very pure. There's a lot of material otherwise we'll end up throwing. Recycling is very, very crucial.
It's very crucial. There's not enough feedstock right now to perfect this technology. So the big content that you get for recycling today is just coming from production scrap. Everybody's testing their cell, the battery cells, that's the scrap for recycling. It's a mixed bag. However, as we get to a point where we have control over this life cycle, where we know how to get back these used batteries, then that's going to be a big challenge. There's many recyclers that are appearing everywhere. If you go to any trade show, if you've been at the battery show, you saw a full floor was recyclers. So they have technology. Unfortunately, they don't have the ability to scale or even test their scale. So they're now looking for somebody that can put their material back into the product. And we don't have that value chain in North America. It's in China. So they build the recycling technology to send it to China to do a proof of concept. That's the part that's struggling quite a bit, but I think that will become more in focus over the next few years.
I'm actually a civil engineer / geologist, so I have no background in this. So my question is, what happens to all the lithium that is being not recycled in the batteries? Is it just wasted then?
Probably.
So we use a lot of lithium. We lose a lot of lithium in the wastewater in the production cycle at this time. In some applications, it's almost as much as 70% lithium that we use. There is recycling technology already available that's being utilized by the consumer cell batteries. So they are using some kind of recycling of lithium already, but the efficiency is not where we want it to be.
Thank you.
So I think we'll answer some more questions later, but I want to hand it over to Sujit.
Well, can you switch the slide here? So Sujit comes from the, he founded a company called Longman Energy back in the day. He's also an energy consultant. And he has a lot of solar power and battery storage background.
Oh, this is mine. Okay. Well, thank you to both of you. So as you rightly pointed out, for the last like 11 plus years, I'm in this sector, especially like sustainability to be, before that I was a merchant marine. I used to sail on board ships. Which is an industry like very much struggling to find, what to do sustainable, because it's not easy to, make that industry green. But thankfully I moved out of that. And in 2012, I actually founded a company. So what the company would actually do is we would raise capital, mostly from the US, but we would also do it from Japan and Europe. So the idea was we were actually getting hold of, extremely cheap capital and deploying it in places where the capital was higher, more expensive, but the radiation levels were higher. And we're deploying it to build solar power. So basically, we were playing on the interest arbitrage and the radiation or the solar radiation arbitrage. Because I was just talking to her, just last month we signed off on a project in Minnesota, which used all kind of, get the latest technologies. They have bifacial modules, which is all glass. It can even generate from the rear side. It has trackers, it tracks and everything. Despite all this, the per kilowatt production of that plant is lesser than a very basic plant back in Madurai in Tamil Nadu, which we had built like at least 9 years back, because the radiation levels are so higher over there. Those modules are like 9 years old. So at least there is like a 1% like degradation every year, and they're just sitting there. They're not tracking anything. They're just sitting there. And of course, there is no fancy undergrowth or anything. So that is what I had done for most of my years. In 2022, we actually broke off, so actually broke apart that company. So one of my partners and my engineering batchmates. So he stayed in India. He continued with the engineering part of it. So he's still busy building plants over there. Mostly, I'm still on the board. I still look after what's happening there. But and the company got bought over by another of our alumni. So actually we are from the BITS Pilani ecosystem. So so the university kind of facilitated our company being sold off to another of our alumni, very young guys, 21 pass outs, got funded, and they got a unique business model. So this is what I was also discussing. So Me and a couple of our guys in the US or otherwise, we used to travel, wine and dine bankers all these years to raise capital. And these guys, all they have is a website wherein they put up their project and within 4 or 5 minutes, everything gets sold out. People are outbidding each other. And I'm like, if you guys had talked to us a few years back, or if you had passed out a few years back, we could have sold all the, saved on all that money and travel. But yeah, so they got an interesting way of doing things. But so I stayed back in the US, and yeah, for the last year or so, I've been doing consulting, but now I have like formally got into this. So I actually, so all the practices we had, we actually merged into another Colorado-based firm, and I'm doing consulting because they have an extremely vibrant, like actually spectrum of projects. I mean, I was like really shocked to even see many of their projects. They have actually huge battery-based projects. We are doing a project for Appalachian State University, wherein, you have solar, wind, and geothermal being plugged into together and merge to power the university. So and yeah, so they have very interest. But then I mean, most of these technologies are new. Apart from that, we are also doing regular management of projects and stuff, wherein operational projects we are trying to improve. I mean, one of the things that we are planning to bring here in the US is you may not have heard of this, but in the US, the solar industry is still very much dependent on incentives. Especially after the Biden administration came, there's a lot of incentives. Unfortunately, what happens is incentives is a lot of inefficiencies move in. I have seen a lot of plants. I got shocked wherein huge central inverters of 0.5 megawatt go down, and people start looking into it after like 4 or 5 days. Like, believe me, if that happened in India, somebody would come to your house and pick you up and, yeah, and then take you to the site as to what. Like there, every kilowatt hour, at least from solar, is like fought with lifeblood. There is no incentives. I mean, it's become extremely competitive because with radiation and the lower cost of labor, so the government has removed all the incentives, which has actually worked very well because the industry moved much faster after these incentives were actually kicked out. So I am actually trying to convince these guys that these plants can actually produce much more than what they already do. Like, and the thing is, there is no source of energy which is getting lost anywhere because the sun rays are coming and going. If you're not utilizing it, I mean, they will just leave. They won't just sit around. Yeah, because it's not coal, it's not diesel that, okay, if you don't run your generator today, you can use later on. I mean, the sun rays are going to leave after, whenever they strike. So you have to do something about it. So we are trying to bring in, I was even shocked that there is hardly any analytics going here. Like there is no predictive analytics, very, very limited predictive analytics here. So we are trying to bring that up as well. So, but in a general, what we are also trying to do is, okay, right. So on a very macro level, what's really happening is solar is really picking up. It is clearly the fastest growing means of generating electricity right now, and because it is cheaper and it is the easiest to do this. Like you can put a solar on your roof. There is no other technology, coal or I mean even wind. Yeah, actually people tried, but people figured that it's very difficult to do that because those flickering shadows actually create headache, and then you can't do it on your home. So solar is moving very, very fast, but there is a huge problem with solar. It's one of the most inconsistent ways of generating electricity. You just don't know. You are at the mercy of clouds, you're at the mercy of sun, you're at the mercy of so many things. So the idea is to tie it with storage so that some stability can be brought in. And of course, it's become very fashionable to think of EV charging. Now, a lot of companies, especially including even Tesla, is thinking of how to merge charging with solar. Like I mean, your EV is only as green as the electricity which is actually charging it. So if you are generating huge coal power electricity from coal plants, and I mean, basically you're just shifted from here to there. Of course, the per unit carbon would be lesser because it's generated at a much bigger plant. But if you do that, one thing that I mean, many people don't like really realize is solar storage and charging, they all are very unpredictable. I mean, all these grid storage, the grid load center guys, they have a pretty good idea of when are you going to consume or when a city is going to consume electricity. But when these EVs come in, I mean, it will throw them off. Now, storage once again can bring some kind of discipline in that, but we realize that, I mean, a much better solution is to tie them out in localized microgrids rather than putting everything on the grid and having these big load centers to manage the uncertainty. It is better to manage the uncertainty at a localized level and not let these uncertainty move on to the larger grid level. So we are working very hard to even convince, local governments or at different levels that microgrid has to be brought in very fast, because nobody's thinking right now it's fashionable to put a lot of EV chargers and solar and everything, even storage. I mean, we just signed off on a project a couple of weeks back on a 60 megawatt hour storage. But then what happens is when all this comes, you have to manage it locally, otherwise it's not coming up. So this is just a quick diagram of what it should look like. So basically, you have houses, factory, offices, all of them will have their own solar panels. Inside, you will have batteries. But it's really difficult to even imagine that every house, office will actually think of how many panels are required, how many batteries are required. They will put up whatever panels they can put on the rooftop or on the ground. They will use whatever batteries they can place. Nobody can go and tell them you should put these many batteries and stuff like that. So all these local communities should have a place. Like on the top right, you have, I'm just shown basically a few modules and few large batteries. So that stuff should manage the local communities, generation, because very soon all of us would become prosumers, not just consumers. We'll produce as well as consume. So if it is not managed locally, it will create a much bigger problem nationally. The good news is, of course, so the solar is coming up, but we are really struggling with storage right now. Storage is definitely not coming up at the pace at which solar is coming up. What we are foreseeing is, trade or rivalry between US and China is going to define this industry, because there is nobody else as well equipped to, lead this industry, because you need a good amount of time and, control of minerals to do that. So China and US will mostly dominate and determine the future of this industry. Apart from that, we are seeing that there are at least 3 countries, which is India, Germany, and France. Apart from that, there will be 2 major localized economies, which are like Southeast Asia and Latin America also to play. But India, Germany, and France is also supposed to key in with, but the problem is all of them have very divergent policies. Like the way India wants to develop storage is very different from how Germany wants to develop storage. So which means there could be like different technologies. Now, as consultants, we are struggling with, bringing some kind of sanity here, so that you have, very standard technologies coming in, very standard ways of plugging this and everything. So that's all. Yeah, I would try to finish here, and then, okay, you can take over.
Yeah. So from a supply chain perspective, I think all these problems come into, in a way or the other, right? Supply chain. Maybe the solar supply chain is pretty set, but you still have the geopolitical rivalry. So what do you see as problems happening, say batteries? I don't think we talked about supply chain there. So what problems you face and what's going on the supply chain issues?
Yeah, so like we talked about earlier, I think the challenges are on both sides of the spectrum. So you see challenges in the incoming material, availability of lithium, like you asked, nickel, cobalt. Cobalt is a big topic, because a majority of the cobalt is grown in areas in Congo. So we call it artisan picking, but these are non-sustainable, non-ethical methods of sourcing. So we are going to see a huge shortage in cobalt. So the technology is now moving towards cobalt-free applications. So we see that change as well. And then recycling and mining, we're revitalizing these old industries. We don't have the skill set to build that, because the scaling, we moved the dirty processes, if I can use the mining, the refining, the machining, we moved them all to the Far East, toward the low-cost countries for the last 2 decades. So we now find ourselves not having the skill sets or the resources or the knowledge to bring it back. So that's one of the bigger challenges. The other is just the availability of minerals. And if you look at the chart I showed you, the big yellow gap, where is that coming from? If you have to supply battery material to one assembly line of vehicles, just one assembly line, the investment is $2.5 billion. To make the cells, the battery cells that go into the cars, that's a multiple of 3 to that number. And to set up the mines, it takes 10 years and multi-billion dollars. So we lack, I think at every step we're seeing these challenges. And then let us say we came out with these electric vehicles. The drive-through loop in this middle school is full of EVs. Let us assume we're there. We have all the electric vehicles. How do we charge it? We're also going through this energy transition. We're finding newer sources of energy. We're building that technology. The grid today cannot support it. So there comes in Sujit and his project. So we have now built solar grids. So we're reinventing this whole value chain. I think that's where the big challenges are.
So from your battery experience, Sujit, you said the biggest battery you built is in Minnesota. So what are the bigger batteries? We hear about Tesla's big battery in Australia, and there's some we hear about in Florida from NEXTgen and all that. But what's coming down the pipeline from a battery storage perspective? Where do you want to go from here in the next 5 years, 10 years? How big can we go?
Yeah, so Tesla, I understand, was the first company which I actually thought of on a very gigawatt levels. But now, the Chinese are fast catching up. Just to give you a number, for example, Tesla has these gigafactories, which means 1 gigawatt hour of battery will be coming out from Teslas. And they built one already in US, they have one in China, they have one in Germany, I guess. They got 2 more coming up in the US. Yeah, in fact, Michigan will be the first state in the world which will have 2 gigafactories. Like most countries don't have gigafactories, Michigan as a state will have 2 gigafactories. So one is being built by LG, and the second is still, so there is, actually LG was supposed to build with GM, but I think they are coming up with separate. But there definitely will be 2. We can figure out the equity structures. But still what is happening, and there is a lot of catching up coming from the Chinese as well, because while Tesla is thinking of 6, 7, 8 gigaback factories coming up, BYD in China is going to go with 50 gigafactories. So they are like really up the scale here. But still the problem remains, if that was what you're asking, that all these gigafactories will still fall short of stabilizing the grid. And we talked about that yesterday as well, that we would still need some base power. Which is why I was finding, your nuclear thing interesting, because of course, if we have to go off carbon, right now all the solar and wind and everything is functioning because the coal power plants are functioning. If you stop the coal power plants, all of them will stop, because most power plants, even today I came in late because one of our plants in Colorado had a trouble. And the trouble happened because the grid switched off. So the moment the grid switched off, this plant switched off, because these plants go off the moment the grid switches off. So these plants are only there because the grid is there. Now storage can solve that, but it's a big, I don't see storage catching up the way these renewables are being built. So a good base power definitely will be required. Yeah, so definitely nuclear is that solution, because building more and more coal to sustain more and more solar would be like a dumb solution, I would say. So of course, but hopefully they will figure out a much better way to scale up storage. But right now, these gigawatt hours are much smaller than what we should have.
Thank you. So when we talk about gigawatt hours, right, so I think that's the scale. A typical nuclear power plant, although it takes forever to build one, is a gigawatt scale. We built one after 30 years in Georgia. So that's how backed up we were. because of various reasons, to build it takes forever. It's a $13 billion project. It ended up costing us $30 billion. So just purely because of inefficiency and all that. But it's just a point of reference, right? So the small modular reactor I was talking about, it's like in the 300 megawatt range. So it's great to build a traditional nuclear power plant. When you build it, it's like 1 gigawatt. You can supply millions of homes. So that being said, but the technology is there. We built one like last month. Some of those units went live. This we have done it after three decades, literally. But there's more coming. So the point being, we need all. It's not like all or nothing. So it's not like one is competing against the other. So especially when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine, we have no other solution other than geothermal, nuclear, these type of application. I mean, solid storage is a good application as well. Go ahead.
I know that one of the challenges that we see, especially from academia when they tell us, is that as these electric vehicles get more produced, the carbon equation becomes different because there's added carbon emissions and just emissions in general from the production of electric vehicles as opposed to their ICE counterparts. I know that the electric vehicles are produced because of rare earth mining. You guys mentioned that. How do you guys see that industry innovating so that we don't have that equation be better? Because if the electric vehicles aren't being produced more, carbon neutral, the equation actually is better. It's better on a personal level, but not overall.
No, it's a fantastic question. That's what we're working on, and why it takes so many years to bring up a facility that can produce the gigawatt hour capacity. So some of the things, and I want to take you back mentally. I won't go back to the chart, but mentally go back to that circular economy chart I showed you. So some of the things we are looking at is regional sourcing. So stop moving material across the globe. So today, most of the cars, EVs that you see here, they have material coming from China. They were assembled in Germany, and they were put together into a housing in Hungary or Poland, and then finally you drive it in America.
And the lithium
right?
came from Chile.
And the lithium comes from Chile, and most of it's exported to China. So that round tripping of the material more than one time or even one time, that's the first thing we're trying to reduce. The second is, I told you something about how many companies release their net zero statement. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to now add a criteria for green construction methods in all their capital investments. So the last 5 years I spent with BASF, one of the things that we look at always before we set up any new site is we look at what is the power. Is it green power? Yeah, is the water, is it sustainable? What do we do with the wastewater? We do that circular economy or closed loop already. How much can we reuse? So these are some of the things that go into it. So when you look at a chart of how the materials produced today in China versus what we see happening in North America, there is a big drop in that carbon footprint. But there will still be some, which is why our target is net zero, not zero emissions. But that's where all these offsets also come into place.
All right. One last question, Padma. Go ahead.
So I'm going to say, Sujit, you raised a very good point in terms of talking about policy. Nation to nation, we seem to be in a very difficult place in the United States because many of our leaders do not believe in climate change. What is the industry doing to affect that? Because we won't have better policy until the elected leaders, the lawmakers, are making better policy.
I mean, it's science.
And it's what,
It's science, basically.
but we need to, but somebody needs to drive it. Yeah, somebody needs to drive them to understand. Because I will tell you, my experience is very frustrating in legislation. I have so many people who are not willing to listen to industry experts. We as living in a democracy, we need to do something. So this is the entire room, not just to you guys up there.
Yeah.
Not really. It actually starts at the local level. I think it really starts at the local level. And that's I think legislatures.
I think you're absolutely right. One of the first pages when I presented in BASF, one of the government, one of the first pages we saw was the state, we saw Shanghai policy, we saw Japan policy, we saw India's policy, and then we saw Canada's policy, and then we see California's policy. No U.S. policy, right? But the infrastructure bill and the Inflation Reduction Act are actually working there. One of the things I am hearing globally is appreciation for the U.S. for incentivizing growth versus penalizing not renewing resources in Europe. I think that's the first step, but we have a long way to go to catch up as a country.
Oh no, yeah. So yes, I was even going to touch upon that. So as I said, I've been building a lot of plants in India. There is no political party in India which is anti-climate change. I don't know how many people have realized that. Like every party, I mean, you could be right, left, or whatever. Nobody says no to solar. Nobody is pro-fuel. But I mean, what I believe is what US is kind of suffering is a legacy problem. Because in India, what happens is almost all fuel companies are government owned. So once government has made a decision that we want to get out of fossil fuel, there is no lobbying against it. What here is happening is there are a lot of strong private sector fossil fuel companies, and they have a reason to go for it. But I mean, the solution to that is, I don't know anything about policy. I mean, that part is never into my. But as an engineer, what I can say is, renewable will really catch up the day it becomes cheaper than fossil fuel, because then the free markets will kick in. Like, believe me, the lobbyists will start going to the renewable side the moment the renewables will become cheaper than the fossil fuel, because they will have more money to make there. So the ideal solution, like for example, as I said in India, like there's no stoppage of solar, especially because it is cheaper to produce electricity from solar in India without incentives. So somehow the engineers have to figure out. Now, US is a much expensive economy, so probably we have to automate things. And we have to come up with solutions against radiation, because generally there are a lot of. So the moment it becomes cheaper, so as an engineering or as technocrats, what we have to realize is how to make it cheaper. I mean, rather than being concerned about the.
Right? What you said about incentives dry out, and we can only do so much corporate welfare without breaking the bank.
I mean, to be very fair, I'll be very happy if incentives are actually, or rather if more money is given to research rather than actual industry which is building, because research should make all renewables cheaper rather than you directly giving money to the guy who is building the plant, because those guys will have wrong incentives then. So this is what at least we have seen happening in India and China. So I hope things get much better, but yeah, but at least I'm here in the US, I'm fighting this battle on a day-to-day basis. But thankfully there are enough projects wherein the policy guys are okay with it. So we are doing fine, but yes.
Thank you. Yeah, we have to wind up. Thank you so much. This conversation can go on. But let's invite our national board, Thomas, to hand over the plaques, please. Thank you, Nijarna. Take a picture.
One more, I think. Thank you. One more picture. No. Thank you.
One picture. Yeah, Dr. Thomas, to suggest too. Thank you. That's why you also come. I get one too. Yes.
Yeah, he should have it on there. I thought you just showed us all of our presentations on that.
Yeah, but I don't know why he had to do this.
Yeah.
Maybe we can start with this and then if you want to. Yeah, all in one. We can get started. Yeah, this is good. Yeah. No. All right. Thank you, everybody. And in every conference, we have to have some information. This is one of them. Sorry about that. Oh, yeah. Right. Yes.
Can I walk there?
can't work. Can I just talk without the microphone? Without the microphone, can I? I just want to see what.
Oh, without microphone, it's fine.
I'll be loud.
Okay, you're loud enough.
Yeah.
All right, one more, sorry. But yes, thanks everybody for being here. I'm Venkat, I'm the president of Washington DC ASEIcon chapter. I'm excited to be here, talking about something that's pretty relevant. The topic is going to go from a business to a little funnel down and then further into cybersecurity. These are topics that everyone's going to see every day in the internet and on the news. So pretty relatable. So we're hoping to keep it where everyone can participate, and I want the audience to be engaging. So stop us wherever you want us to chime in or any other questions you have. But at the end, we do have 10 minutes for everyone to ask questions. So am I talking? Okay, yeah. So going into introductions, we have three esteemed panelists with us here. We have Radhakrishnan, we have Anjali, and we have Anish. So to talk a little bit about them. So Anjali manages a highly successful management consulting company. It's a group that is affiliated with 3 other companies that help certifying businesses businesses like commercial and government agencies. So Anjali is the executive VP at GMS Registrar, and during her term, she's built the management consulting services in multiple engineering sectors, including IT, CMMI, medical industry, DoD, CMMC, plus FedRAMP. Right? She also supports and advocates for the YWCA, YWCA Young Leadership Institute. And Anjali is also an active member at the Toastmasters local chapter from where she is, and has served as the treasurer there. And finally, Anjali has a master's in biomedical engineering from the Cleveland Clinic and State University. So that's Anjali for us.
Hi folks, thank you for joining.
And then we have Anish Verma. Anish is a sales and marketing leader with more than 25 years of experience in management and IT consulting across the Fortune 50 companies in manufacturing. He's been recognized as the impact leader by the Hall of Impact for his work in the EPC industry. He started his corporate career as a process engineer at Tata Motor Companies, and later went on to lead the global transformation initiatives at IBM for all his clients. So, and next, I guess at Capgemini, as a principal, he managed global accounts, advising clients on topics ranging from thought leadership, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, cloud, to execution and delivery. As a co-founder of MintMesh, he is propelling MintMesh ahead in the engineering world as the chief sales and marketing officer. So that's Anish Verma. He holds a mechanical engineering degree from Purdue University, and he also has an MBA from Michigan State. I didn't get to that point. But yeah, so Radhakrishnan, we have here. So Radhakrishnan is an enthusiastic and enigmatic founder and the president of Detroit Engineering Products. You know that? Yeah. In 1998, Radhakrishnan founded DEP in Troy, pretty nearby, a company that specializes in engineering services, product development, software development. It's now a multi-billion-dollar company with 500 employees globally. So under his leadership, DEP rapidly grew in its inception in Troy and now has 8 offices across multiple continents. He's worked with major engineering organizations such as General Motors, EASI, Tata Consulting Engineering, and he did all this before founding DEP. So his passion for technology led him to pioneer DEP Meshworks, a proprietary CAE platform which helps companies reduce their product development time considerably. We all need that. He holds a bachelor degree in mechanical engineering from IIT Madras, India, and a master's degree in mechanical engineering from University of Toledo, Ohio, here in the States. With over 30 years of experience working in leading tier 1 automotive companies and OEM, Radhakrishnan fully understands what it takes to create a disruptive solution that is the evolving industry needs. So that's Radhakrishnan, and quickly going into some of the presentations our panelists have put together. Starting off with Radhakrishnan. First yours, yeah. I'll start if you want to use the clicker.
This is good. This is good. This is good. This is good.
You want to mic?
No, I'm good. As long as everyone is
Yeah,
able to hear me.
yeah.
Good. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I have some backbenchers there for office. Yeah. But that is the only sales pitch for the day. I am not going to say anything about myself. First of all, thanks ASEI. So digital transformation, cybersecurity, and AI. That's the topic for this session. Just as how we are talking about transformation at the present time, I would like to rewind back 100 years ago. All right, what kind of transformation that happened back then? All right, a little bit of a history buff. All right, okay. You would imagine who had the most tractors, highest volume production tractors 100 years ago? Henry Ford. All right. We all know he's a pioneer in automotive, needless to say, but he was also the #1 airplane maker 100 years ago. All right. Okay. And obviously Model T. We all know the story about Model T. All right. Great pioneer. Okay. And it is the same Henry Ford. Okay. And picking just one example, many other titans, and especially that too. We are sitting on very hallowed grounds. Michigan was the breeding ground for all these leaders. All right. It's the same Henry Ford who built about 18,000 aircrafts in a span of 4 years. 18,000 aircrafts supplying to the World War II effort. Detroit was the arsenal of democracy. All right. That was a great transformative period, and that's a Willow Run production facility right here in Michigan. All right. Okay. Now let's fast forward 100 years. We are at a similar stage right now with so much transformation happening. All right. Across multi-industry, whether it's automotive, aerospace, heavy equipment, etc., there's a lot of transformation happening, and a lot of it driven by digital transformation, because everything is virtually done these days. Some examples: automotive crash. All right. These are all the digital twins. I think I'll be okay. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So is the audio okay? Yes. Okay. So this is a digital twin of crash simulation when you design cars. All right. So let me play this other video. Please don't get scared. So that is the real vehicles getting tested. All right. Okay. Very, very close correlation between the simulation-driven digital twin and the actual real-world product. All right. Same thing. You're talking about a virtual aerodynamic simulation. We talk about a lot of electrification and so on. We want the aero drag to be as minimal as possible so that you get the next 10-mile range or 25 miles range, etc. And the same thing gets reflected in reality. All right. So this is the virtual, the real world wind tunnel testing for vehicles. Okay. So you can see across the board, every product, you need a digital twin. All right. This is an electric vertical takeoff landing and landing type of aircraft. It acts like a helicopter and then flies away like a regular airplane. Now imagine this same digital twin converted to a reality. All right. So as the wing has a special wing at the back, it just tilts downward, not the rotor, but the wing, and it gives the lift up and then it flies away. All right. So whatever simulation is done on the left-hand side, it gets reflected as reality. So in product design and engineering, you are talking about this kind of huge impact digital transformation is having. This is something that's very close to my heart, literally, okay? This is nothing but the stents, all right, that go into our hearts. So you can see the stent as it gets pushed through our heart arteries. So what it could do, and this is the real world scenario. Hopefully none of us should have the need for something like this anytime soon. But again, a digital transformation, a digital twin, and corresponding reality. Okay, across multi-industry. That's, by the way, through the heart artery as you place the stent. All right. So the story here is that you have quite a bit of digital impact that causes your product to be developed very, very fast. Now, here, the same digital twin is being taken to the next level, and what is happening here is the digital twin is happening in real time. Okay, on the left-hand side, there is a camera feed in your car, and every object that you see on the road is getting converted into a computer object, all right? But the calculation is happening in real time. Whereas the previous simulations, it takes a lot more time to run, whereas this is real time. So that immediately on the right-hand side, the vehicle can be controlled with a real-time driving, and the vehicle can navigate itself, which is our autonomous driving. So again, digital transformation done in real time. Okay. So coming to AI. Okay. So here I would like to play this little video. All right. So in this video, what you see here, to do the same kind of simulation where you need to predict the aerodynamics of the vehicle, as you keep changing the vehicle's shape, all right, you can see instantaneously the drag coefficient, etc., is getting recomputed. Normally, this will take 2 days of a runtime simulation to get to this stage. But here we are getting it in real time. As you change the shape of the vehicle, instantaneously you're also getting the computation done in real time. How is it happening? Through a back-end AI technology. Okay. What is driving this entire AI application is 1,000 different vehicles data, 1,000 full car vehicles data. And for each vehicle data, there is multiple sub-variations. What if I change the rear portion of the vehicle, front portion of the vehicle, etc., etc. So overall, you're looking at a massive amount of data on top of which an AI model is built. So here's the CNN convolutional neural network model that is in play here, which is giving you the instantaneous results. Whereas all the earlier slides I showed you was actual physics based, whereas this is AI based. So that is the transformation you're looking at. So overall, whether you're looking at 100 years ago where there was a huge transformation, whereas now a similar kind of transformation is happening, but everything in the digital space. So that is where I want you to leave you all with, and then transfer over to my co-speakers so they can get into the other aspects of it. Okay, it looks like we can skip this. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Thank you, Radha. You want to take a seat? You can take a seat. And I'm just going to start off asking the audience a few questions. Shout out the first thought that comes to your mind when I ask you a question. What reminds you? What comes to your mind when I say 1983? Great. Y2K. Yes, but what is the sentiment? Change. I like it. COVID. Lockdown. I like that. Artificial intelligence. Really? Scary. I like that one, man. Excitement? Actually, I love that more. But artificial intelligence is something that is here to stay, guys. So there are a lot of discussions earlier in this room in the morning talking about AI a little bit, creating fear among people, whether it is going to take my job away. I remember when I started my job, first job ever, we didn't have computers, our own computers on our desks. We had to go to a typist to type, to get a letter typed. And if there are mistakes, he had to white it out, retype, right? I'm talking about the mid-90s. I'm not that old. Now computers came in, and after that computers came in. How many people lost job because of computers? Zero. Actually, more people got jobs because of computers, right? The same thing is going to happen with AI. So let me talk to you guys a little bit about AI. There are several kinds of AI. All of you guys are intelligent, so you already may know this, but I just want to set the context. And most of us have heard about ChatGPT, and I'll talk a little bit about ChatGPT to set the context. But if you think about AI, there are 6 different types of AI. I think that's a little bit of an eye chart, but machine learning, neural networks, robotics, even I can't read it, expert systems, fuzzy logic, and NLP, right? And then we all talk about ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT is a use case of GPT, and GPT stands for Generative Power Transformer, which is basically powered by LLM. LLM stands for Large Language Model, and Large Language Model and what Microsoft has done with OpenAI has basically democratized artificial intelligence. Google created their own language model. Alexa created its own language model, and that is why you could speak to it, right? That's what they did, and that's how they started. Actually, that's how we started our company as well, but we are focusing very specifically on engineering language modeling. But with LLM now, they have democratized AI, which means that now anybody can create AI solutions faster. What Apple did to telecommunications and then what Apple Store did to businesses is what LLM is going to do for AI, right? Nobody could have ever envisioned a phone without buttons. iPhone completely changed that mindset, right? There was only one button on the screen. That's it. Nobody could have thought about it, right? The same way, that is what LLM is going to do for it. So we should not fear it. We should embrace it and figure out how we are going to make good use of AI. Okay? And I think that is what, as a co-founder of an AI company, I try to talk to all my clients, and Anjali will talk a lot about that as well when she talks. But if you are not adopting it, your competition is. And if you don't make that assumption, you're bound to fail. Polaroid, Nokia, Motorola, BlackBerry, they don't exist today because they did not adopt soon enough, despite being pioneers in their industry. Who remembers TiVo? A lot of people remember TiVo. I mean, some of us, right? It doesn't exist today. I mean, it does as a company. They're doing different things, but they don't exist today. But the concept that they brought about is being used by anybody and everybody now, right? So that is what AI is going to be to our future. So how do you decide whether you need to implement AI or not? And I think as engineers, you guys need to take this to your management, right? Because you guys are going to be the users of AI in your day-to-day work, and the AI that we make is specifically for engineers. So there are 3 basic things that AI does. It helps automate, it helps augment, and it provides help with decision support. Automation is the easiest, augmentation comes next, and decision support comes as the highest level. So you need to take a look at what is the impact on people, business, and assets, right? You cannot just implement AI with reckless abandonment. And I think that is why a lot of ex-executives from Google, Microsoft, Apple, they're all talking about how we need to put guardrails in place for AI development. Otherwise, very quickly, people will fall off the cliff in terms of employment. So this is very important. That's why there's some policy discussion that I think even you were talking about earlier, right? Our leaders need to set policies. So how do you decide? If it is a low risk task, why is a human doing it, first of all, right? You don't need typists anymore, right? You don't need calculators. You don't need people who did a lot of serious accounting anymore. There are a lot of technology and software for it. So if it is low risk activity, automate it, which means, put in autonomous, right? If it's a high risk activity, there are two things you can do. You can provide augmentation, which means providing data to your human user to make decisions faster, slower, one way or the other. And then also provide decision support. So this is a very high level framework that Gartner created in one of their documents that they publish, the research that they publish. And augmenting human capability is basically helping people become smarter. So somebody was talking about, I think it was Ankur Ganguly was talking about her daughter telling her, show me what you're talking about in Google, because she believes Google is more reliable than her own parents. All our kids are growing up in this age, right? So all these things are supposed to make us smarter, right? I think so many people say that the iPhones have made us dumb, right? Have you heard that before? Yeah. So it may be true in some cases. There is no intelligence in trying to solve a big math problem manually unless you're in school, right? Nobody's going to have you create and go through a lot of logarithmic calculations to prove how intelligent you are. That's not what happens in the corporate world. In corporate world, you have to make decisions faster and good decisions, which is obviously always hindsight. But that is how you need to decide in Gartner's opinion and even in our opinion. So when we were creating our software, and I built a lot of AI solutions for IBM and Capgemini for our clients. And whenever a client asks us, can you do this? We always said yes, right? We never said no, we can't do it. We always said yes. We didn't know how, but we knew that if we can bill our client enough money, we will build it for them, right? And that is when I decided that, rather than building it for Capgemini, I'll build it for my own business and make more money, by the way. And we all need to love making money. I think somebody was talking about that earlier in the morning as well. Making money is a very good thing. So my last slide here before I hand it over to Anjali, right? One of the biggest problems that our clients have about AI is my data secure? Mamta Chamarti was talking about data this morning. Data is the next oil of information industry, right? So how is my data safe? Is my data secure? Those are the basic questions that I think we all need to answer as technologists who are developing software, right? We need the software to assist, to augment, while providing enough cybersecurity, data security, right? Without companies like GMS that Anjali runs, we would not be able to sell our software in the world. So having her on the panel is very important. So let me explain to you the framework that I created based on all the readings that I did. So there are two axes that you need to think about: task complexity and decision risk. Okay, if the task is simple, low complexity, and the risk out of that decision that you make is low, you automate it. Because even if you make a mistake, or even if your AI makes a mistake, you can fix it. You have enough time to fix it. Usually for such an activity, chances of AI making a mistake are very, very low. Mamta, this morning, I don't know how many of you attended a fascinating keynote introduction to this whole convention was. She spoke about asking ChatGPT of how to write a beautiful message for her husband's 60th birthday. So she gave a lot of parameters to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT came back with an answer that she used. Now, is that a low risk or a high risk thing? It really depends on your perspective, right? I think it's a low risk thing because she can decide not to use that, right? Or it could, if she says, no, that's the only thing I'm going to use, that could be a high risk. It's the 60th birthday of her husband. So it really depends upon that. But if it's low, you go with automation. Now, if the task complexity is high and the decision risk of the decision that you make out of that activity is high, you need to provide decision support, which means you need to have more guardrails in place for AI. You cannot let AI run the show for you. Okay, so it really depends on us as humans to decide how to use AI. I do not see that we will get into the Judgment Day Terminator movie scenario in any time in the next 100 years, ever, right? At least not in our lifetime that we need to worry about. So there are some examples there as well under each box, but then if one of them is true, then I think you can decide about how you can augment the human to make the decision, which means you reduce or eliminate lot of the human manual work, replace it by AI, and let the human consume that information much faster to make a decision. So rather than the human spending time collecting and compiling that data, let AI collect and compile the data for you. And then you allow the human to make the decision. So that is where most of the AI will come about, right? So resume worthy of an interview, right? That is one example of augmentation. So you let the AI tell you that out of these 200 resumes, these 50 are the best, but let then the human decide which are the top 10. AI can tell you which are the top 10 as well, but that is where you can have a human playing a role. Matching lenders to credit history. That could also be an augmentation thing. There are a lot of softwares out there that decide based on your credit worthiness and a lot of other things, right? But there are a lot of businesses who don't just rely on that AI algorithm. They have human eyeballs spend time on that. There are a lot of other variables that I'll display on the screen, but I'll not talk much about it. But I like the idea of keeping it simple and keeping it simple. Okay, I will not use the other word. But let's keep it simple. Let's make it simple for all of us to figure out whether we want AI in our lives. Another way to think about is, some of us are parents already, some of us will become parents. Do we need AI to train, to help teach our kids? It's a very slippery slope question, right? Some people will say no way, and some people say, hell yeah, I need support. Who was taught parenting in college? Nobody? Me neither, right? We were not taught parenting in college. So we all learned on the job. Our children are a reflection of what we taught them. And they will make their own opinions and all that stuff later in life. But that's what AI can do, right? AI can provide support. It is your choice whether you want to use it or not. But LLM will definitely democratize AI for you. That's what IBM is moving towards. IBM Watson X is moving towards. And then we will, and then you'll see a lot of other technologies coming out there as well. There are a lot of startups in this space across the world, across all those 6 types of AI. So embrace it. AI is a friend, not a foe. Yes.
Looking at the side, how your kid is behaving when he are hungry. Then we use our intelligence to process that information and make a decision. AI is current AI. It's not artificial intelligence. AI. It doesn't have the sensitivity. Yes. So there I kind of disagree with that. Yes, AI is going to augment, but not necessarily in the things that we want AI to be reflective of our children.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. That's why I said it's a slippery slope topic. A lot of people have strong opinions on this, but I agree with you. AI will never have sensibility, at least not anytime soon. Yeah, I'm going to pass it on to you, Anjali. That was my last slide.
Thank you. How many minutes do I have so I know? 5 minutes. 5 minutes?
I think you started.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Welcome. So thank you, folks, for joining. Oh, okay. All right. Wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you so much, folks, for joining us after lunch. I'm seeing some afternoon sleepies in the audience. Some people are nodding off, or some people are fully asleep. They're dreaming about the dinner for tonight. So I'd like to just ask everyone to take 2 full, deep breaths. Okay, one more. Okay, yeah. So today, what I will be talking to you about cybersecurity begins with you. And are you protected against cyber threats and attacks? What we will be talking about is specifically what we're seeing, some requirements and certifications and things that organizations, regardless of what you do, how to prevent cybersecurity threats and attacks. Every day we hear government agencies to big name organizations that get attacked, and it's simple, preventable things that you can do every day, from just general phishing attack courses that you can offer at your organization for just basic onboard training. These best practices and in regards to the certifications is what we will be talking about today. Okay. So you see here a list of probably things that maybe look like Russian to you. These are various requirements, and these requirements generally stem from the US government. The US government usually sets the tone for what government contractors are required if they want to do business with the US government. Government contractors, of course, are organizations that do work for the government. Think of if you even go to a DoD building or an FBI building or a DOJ building, even the soap in the restrooms or hand sanitizers are procured by government contractors. There's a relationship between the government and government contractors. These requirements stem from what the government requires you to maintain these certifications: ISO certifications, CMMI certifications, FedRAMP. CMMC is a big buzzword in the cybersecurity and DoD realm right now. It eventually translates to the commercial world, to the Bosch, to the GMs, to the organizations that are not necessarily doing government contracting work. Because these standards and certifications are all about quality assurance and quality best practices. They're tried and true methods. ISO, one of the first ISO standard, started with Henry Ford in the early 1900s. ISO is a standard based of families of standards based in Switzerland. CMMI is focused primarily with the DoD, and Carnegie Mellon actually created this standard back in the 1980s because there wasn't a quality management system for software products. And since then, it's exploded substantially, CMI for development and CMI for services. And all of these services certifications are all based on quality assurance, best practices, how to run a better business, how to build better software, how to run a better service, and also how to be secure, cyber secure. And if you look at some of the emerging technologies and cybersecurity standards, a lot of those cybersecurity standards are based off of a standard called ISO 27000, but then also based off of the NIST 800-171 framework. And that is what the DoD is primarily working on, with trying to enhance the cybersecurity in the US in general. I think last year there was a quote of $20 billion were lost in adversarial cybersecurity attacks just in the US. And you would think, oh, how is the DoD being hacked? You think they have this and this in place, that in place. But simple things like ransomware attacks that stem from phishing attempts, you clicking on, you think it's from your HR department that's coming in and saying, hey, give me your timesheet, whatnot. You click on that PDF and they're in and can get into your system. Jump drives. There's some organizations that still use jump drives. Those are the easiest way to get into your system, is having a jump drive or a removable drive. And the ISO 27000, some of the NIST standards, and CMMC, which is a DoD correlated and created standard, actually says you need to have a policy in place. If you're going to have jump drives at the organization, you need to have a policy in place on should you use the jump drive, shouldn't you use it. If you find a jump drive sitting in a parking lot, do not use it. That's one thing you do not want to use, and put it into your laptop. Just throw it away, disseminate it, kill it, squash it. Literally with your heel or shoe, squash the jump drive. Okay, so I wanted to bring up something, steal a line that Anish brought up, that if you don't adopt it, your competitors will adopt it. That is the game of certifications, is that if you were like, oh, I don't need this, you don't need this, there's going to be a competitor. There's going to be a competitor that I have this certification and I can do business with the DoD or any of the US government agencies, and I have this tried and true because I'm implementing all of these certifications, and I'm going to deliver a good product to you. So there is an element of competition. That's how you weed out your competition, by going after some of these certifications, qualifications, requirements. Regardless, again, if you're doing government contracting work, you're doing commercial work, it's your customer believes in these best practices, your supply chain will approve. Okay? And with that, I would like to pass the mic to Venkat. I think we have a few questions from our audience potentially.
Thank you. Thanks for those insights, guys. Those were incredible. I have some questions I want to ask them, but before that, I know we're running short of time. Do the audience have anything that you guys want to start with about cybersecurity, AI?
I just want to say, for anyone who's a Michigan manufacturer, Automation Alley in Oakland County has a free cybersecurity assessment, your cyber health. So if you're interested in your manufacturing company, go to the Automation Alley website, and they have a form you need to fill out.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Before that, I have a question for you guys. For the business leaders of today and tomorrow, if there's one thing that they want to take back from this, whether it's regarding AI, adoption of AI, cybersecurity, what would it be? We can start from Radha.
See, I believe the confluence of innovation, technology, and the investment, all three are important factors which made America great. Not only America, the rest of the world great. Okay. So whether it's cybersecurity or AI or digital transformation, I would suggest you bring these three pieces together. All right. Then I think nothing is insurmountable.
Yes, all right. Yes, cybersecurity. So I would say, regardless if you are a high schooler, I saw there were some youngins here, or if you have your own business, or you are part of a larger corporation, I mean, cybersecurity can attack in any manner. Even people calling you, texting you, saying that they are the Federal Order of Police, donate money, right? Those are cybersecurity attacks, and those happen every day. So really become like smart up. Take a cybersecurity, even basic hygiene course of don't open up that email from hr@bosch.com that looks like it's hr.bosch.com, because there's a thing called DNS masking, and it actually happened to one of our customers. It falsified my email address is akotha@gmsaudit.com, all in lowercase. They capitalized the I in the audit and falsified me. They wrote a letter or email that kind of looked like me. They gave a different bank account number because we were sending them an invoice for services dealt, and they were like, "Oh, we paid you," and we were like, "No, that we didn't. I checked all of our bank accounts. I have control over the bank accounts, and I didn't see the funds come in." And they did some investigation, and it was a hacking attempt, and it was just a uppercase I instead of a lowercase I for audit. And I found it, and this happens every day. And they lost part of the money, we lost part of the money. It's horrible. It's really, you can't trust anything at this time. Always double check, triple check, and don't answer text messages or phones from people posing.
Yeah, I'll just keep it simple. Find reasons and ways to use AI than shying away from it.
Thank you, guys. I think we have a quick thank you note from the Vice President Ram here. Yeah.
He's from Southern California staff and also a national board member to hand out.
Thank you. Take a group photo of one. Group photo, all that. Yeah, exactly. Okay, Ram,
Thank you. The next session is about the million, so please grab something really quick and we'll do the final keynote for the day.